address a ceasefire deal.
Get the Russians to agree?
I'll talk to Vladimir Putin, yeah.
When will
I
you
want to
talk
get,
to him?
look, that's the other, it takes two to tango, as they say, right? So hopefully he'll also agree, and I really think that would be 75% of the way. The rest is getting it documented and, you know, negotiating land positions, etc.
So you'll talk to him this week about the deal?
So, yeah.
So
And when do you anticipate meeting him in person?
In place on the Ukrainian side, how close do you think then you are to a total ceasefire with
Well, I hope it'll be over the next few days. I'd like to see. I know we have a big meeting with Russia tomorrow, and some great conversations hopefully will ensue. The people have done a great job. Marco Rubio's been great.
Meanwhile, the White House has confirmed that the 50% tariff planned for tomorrow on some Canadian metals has been cancelled. Instead, a previously planned 25% tariff will still be enacted. Donald Trump had told reporters outside the White House this afternoon that he was rethinking his decision to double tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium after Ontario cancelled a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to 3 US states. Meanwhile, back in the UK, a 13-year-old girl has been charged with the murder over the death of a mother of 3 following a fire at a home in Wellingborough. That's according to Northamptonshire Police. The force said the girl, who cannot be named for legal reasons, has also been charged with arson and with the attempt to endanger life. Formal identification has yet to be confirmed, but the woman is believed to be 43-year-old Marta Bednarkits, who was found dead at the scene. And suspected Channel migrant Abu Wadi has pleaded not guilty to entering the UK illegally. 33-year-old Wadi, who allegedly arrived on a migrant boat, is charged with knowingly arriving in the UK without leave. He will next appear at Maidstone Crown Court on the 8th of April. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, welcome to Headliners, where we give you the best of tomorrow's newspapers with the best of today's comedians. First things first, going to have a look at the front pages. The Daily Mail, Ukraine agrees ceasefire deal. Telegraph, Putin told to agree Ukraine ceasefire. At the Times, Kyiv open to ceasefire as Trump aid. So, plenty more front pages coming up, but Steve, the big story of the day.
Yep, Daily Mail front page. I know other people on this channel get a lot of mileage out of reading the prices of the front pages.
Yeah, that's hack. That's old school.
I thought I'd just describe the QR code that's on there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
that's what people really want to know.
Dark bit, dark bit, dark bit, light bit, dark bit. If you're filling it in at home, you could make it. Maybe just look online. Ukraine agrees ceasefire deal. Trump, I'll talk to Putin, but it takes 2 to tango. We just saw the clip in the news of him stood there with Elon, just stood next to him. Elon, the richest man in the world, that must cost him money to just be stood around for a few minutes just listening.
It's not about money for him. He's doing it because he's got a purpose.
Yeah, but Vladimir Putin was last night under pressure, it says here. But it seems like Zelensky's said, yeah, OK, no, I'll sign up to this ceasefire. All of those people online right now sending messages, all he wants is war, he's making money out of more. He's not done very cleverly on this one then, has he? So it looks like maybe he does want some ceasefire, but the bit where Trump just says of Putin, I hope he will agree. It's a different tone, isn't it? Like last week, whenever the row was in the Oval Office, it wasn't like, oh, I hope Zelensky says thank you some more. It wasn't really that kind of tone. Yet with Putin, it's like, hey, do you know what? I just hope he kind of comes to the table. I don't know why
he's been... Yeah, this sort of bullying tone has come with Zelensky. But is it calling Putin's bluff, really? Is that what Zelensky's done?
Well, first of all, I must mention you haven't mentioned the 8-page pullout inside.
Yes,
we're covering everything on the front page.
Right,
I'm sorry, but if you're going to do that, then that's
you're right. About Cheltenham.
People might be really interested in that. So, yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's not really a ceasefire deal, is it? At this point, it's Ukraine saying we'll do this, we'll go ahead with it, and then apparently Putin is going to say to, Trump is going to say to Putin, it takes 2 to tango, which sounds like it's some kind of catchphrase. That's
the other part.
Things off. As soon as he hears it, he's going like, yes,
well, actually, that's not the complete phrase. It takes 2 to tango, but it takes 1 not to release a compromising video.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that's what's
That's
going
the
on.
full expression.
We don't know. Look, you know, I think the whole thing that Trump's done, the way he's played this, is an absolute betrayal of Ukraine. But at the same time, I'm going to wait and see what happens, because it doesn't look good. It looks like, at the moment, it looks like Ukraine gives away everything, land and, you know, mineral rights and so on, for nothing much back, really. But at the same time, it might be, and I'm just, you know, saying maybe this is the Trump way. He sows chaos, and maybe he's put Putin in a position where he can't really say no to this. Yeah. You know, he's given him everything he wants.
So maybe
and it might be a start of a
he might be doing
phase.
some 4D chess, and if he does and it achieves peace...
I mean, probably isn't. It's probably going to be a mess.
Well, we'll see. If Ukraine gets the security guarantees that it wants, then you sort of think, fair enough.
But those security guarantees haven't been there. The closest to a security guarantee was saying if there are American businesses there, then there'll be... Well, there were American businesses in 2014.
People invade where there's McDonald's.
Totally. It won't affect them.
So they're calling
out
this
in a moment.
Deal in the desert, because obviously it's in Saudi Arabia.
And they like alliteration.
Rumble in the jungle.
Yep.
But if he go, and there's talk of him going back to Zelensky being invited now back to the White House. What I would like if Zelensky just went and did the same thing all over again, and just sort of just started haranguing him during the...
I'd like if he goes along in a pair of underpants and nothing more. You know.
I think a really sarcastic thank you would be great. Oh, thank you. Have I mentioned thank you? You're right.
Literally lick his shoes. Oh, I'm so grateful.
Right, well, let's have a look at the Daily Telegraph then, Kerry.
The Daily Telegraph as well. There's more of Putin told to agree Ukraine ceasefire. We've covered that, so should we move on to other things? Why not?
Sure.
Global stock markets in meltdown as Trump tariff war takes hold. So, yeah, I mean, it's another one of Trump's absolute chaos of no idea whether we're going to end Trump's term with a complete economic collapse and world war, or whether this is all going to recover. He's pulled back on this one. This was the 50% tariffs on Canada. He's at war with Canada. Right, he wants Canada to
How
basically
could anybody be at war with Canada?
State.
That's
I know,
so nice.
They're supposed to be such pushovers, but they're getting angry.
Oh dear,
they are getting angry about it. And the president's saying I'm just reforming the economy, but it's a massive reform we're talking about. Basically, Trump treats countries like he treats people he doesn't like. You know, he has that same attitude.
Well, humiliates them.
Just gaslights them down,
Grabs them in places then.
But you wonder what he really wants out of this. Does he really think he's going to get Canada to agree to be another American state? I doubt it.
It already is, essentially. Let's be real.
Not really. I mean, what with having a separate government and being a separate country.
All right, well, then I take that statement
back. I say no. I say your geopolitics needs brushing up a little bit.
Yeah, I need to read a bit more on that one, actually. I thought it sounded good.
This seems to be harming people in America, though.
Yeah.
That's what looks like the failure here, and the failure in comparison to what Trump said. Of his first term, he was boasting about, I think he used the phrase, we have lots of records of how good the stock market was. Lots of records, like the Guinness World Records measure this stuff. And this time, the stock markets are plummeting because of the lack of stability. We all know markets love stability. So he's going, here's a tariff. I'd say no. Oh, go on then.
The market doesn't lie. And it's the same thing when over here, when Liz Truss sort of pushed through. It's not that some of the ideas were bad, but doing it so quickly and without the right communication. I think doing that here as well, tariffs, as you say, will hurt Americans. It'll put the price up for Americans.
Yeah. Sure, but not just for the sake of being devil's advocate. It seems to be, and I think it will all fall apart. It's going to be, but Trump's way seems to be to do dramatic things, have dramatic effects that throw everyone into a chaotic order where he can then look good, you know, get some kind of agreement at the end of it.
Have you seen the clip, though? There's clips of Donald Trump saying, because the economy started to improve under Biden, and there's an interview where he says it's improving because the nation presumes I will be president, so that's why it's improved. Now it's going the other way. He's saying, we were left with such a state by that Biden guy.
Come on, man.
Pick a side of the fence to be on.
That's not his style, is it?
It's when he starts saying it's all happening because Biden's going to come back in again.
There's two more stories I want to cover here. Met Police investigate Lowe's verbal threats. I saw an interesting post on X today, which was Rupert Lowe's staff had written a letter of defence of him. I don't know how interested you are in the whole reform.
Oh, it's a great drama, opera,
But they basically said he's an amazing dude. That was the gist of it.
Yeah.
And they're not happy, and so they've written this very nice letter about him.
To lose 20% of your sitting MPs is quite a big amount, isn't it? Although now he's technically independent, he's only in a slightly smaller party.
Yeah.
So it's not that much of a big change.
Well, then there's talk of an apple pie. And the other one here is this farm subsidies halted a new rural life betrayal. So this is the third kind of what farmers would have perceived to be an attack on them. And what other people...
These were post-Brexit subsidies that they got, which and now Starmer's talking about taking them away, and will do. Starmer treats farmers like Trump treats countries, basically. So I don't know whether it will pay off or not, but or for him or for whatever he wants, I don't know. But I think it is a betrayal of the farmers, personally.
It's a risky...
How do you feel about farmers, Steve?
Well, I'm pro them, given that they've all got guns. And I very much like food.
And also you like to ride on tractors.
I absolutely love a tractor.
And I like to dress as a fox at the weekends.
Yeah.
So I don't like them.
But you can... It doesn't mean that you can't question what some of these subsidies are for. And, of course, there's the accusation that fields are kind of... They're being paid to leave them empty and grow wildflowers instead. And
it's only $3,000, though. So it's not the same... There's the bit where it says $3,000 and afterwards someone in the article said, this is the biggest betrayal. It's not. Have you checked out the numbers on the inheritance tax? That's bigger than the $3,000 thing. This is such small fry in comparison.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the Times then, Steve, please.
Kyiv open to ceasefire as Trump restarts aid. That story's going to be all over the place.
That's popular, isn't it, that story?
It's quite a biggie, isn't it? And then we've got Zara Tindall doing that kind of evil pose.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
$1 million.
That's the caption, Treasury to raise payouts for exposing tax cheats. I love this story.
That's a good one.
So, if someone's on the fiddle, and you know that they're on the fiddle, and you dob them in...
Not like... Different
Not like the devil went down to Texas, that one, or wherever Georgia. I got mine wrong. I don't know which state the devil... It probably went everywhere. But if you dob them in, you get a slice of the action. Yeah, like the additional tax that the HMRC get, you get a cut of this.
Nice.
I may not... Normally, I'd not one for squealing.
Well, we know a bunch of comics, don't we?
Exactly.
You get 25% of the extra tax raised as a result. I don't know. My mother brought me up not to be a telltale, and I was told being a snitch was bad. Yeah, but now... this is... apparently it worked. It's based on the American policy that worked, and it turns people into spies, which in a way I think's wrong. But on the other hand, when are you doing your taxes next? Can I have a quick... I might help you.
Well, you think I earn enough to actually pay tax?
If you dob yourself
below the threshold.
If you dob yourself in, you'll only have to pay 75% of what you earn, because you'll pay 100 and get 25 back.
I reckon what's going to happen is companies are going to start employing mute people.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to snitch on my wife. I'd be like, that toilet paper that she claimed wasn't really...
Well, now that I know, I'm going to snitch on your wife before you do.
Yeah, fair. Right, let's have a look at some more front pages. The Sun... Wes aid flashes girl, 13. The Guardian, US says ball in Russia's court as Ukraine agrees 30-day ceasefire. And the Daily Star, Gold Trafford. So we're going to avoid the Sun because that is a live case. Let's go to the Guardian, Steve. Actually, no, Kerry, isn't it?
Do you mean you don't know which one of us is which? Have you got confused already?
Yes.
OK, I'll be Kerry then. So we have the story, there's more about ball in Russia's court. That's a very dominant story today. Plan to cut thousands more civil service jobs. I'll read a bit of the first paragraph here. It says it's about a lot of cuts, including a crackdown on quangos and thousands more civil service job cuts. The Guardian, and then it says understands, which is a real shock. I thought they were going to say, and they were going to cut The Guardian, but it turns out it's not.
OK.
So it's a bit of a disappointing story in that. But really,
this is The Guardian that recently, today, I believe, had to pay out some money to Douglas Murray.
I heard that, yes.
He's only reposted it 1,000 times in the last...
And so this is some proposals by Labour Together, which is a think tank, but also they're planning just massive cuts. Quangos are going to go, which is, I think, probably a good thing. I never liked the word quango. I think it's awful. I don't know. It's a quasi-autonomous non-government body, and I don't like quasi things, because they're neither here nor there. Like Quasimodo. Are you a modo or not? Make your mind up.
What about quasi-cut?
Well, who are you going to go with then? Keep back.
Quickly, beep, beep, beep.
So they're going to say you've been quango to a lot of quangos and get rid of them, and they're going to cut about 10,000 civil service roles, which is a good thing. Streamlining is good. I like streams. I like
it's
lining.
also that's going to save us a huge amount of money when it comes to people retiring in the end, and then and all the money they're going to be getting their pensions. But this is actually quite a deft move from Starmer, because there's a lot of hoo-ha, especially with what we've seen with the judicial guidelines that have gone through from the Sentencing Council.
Yeah.
This is a quango. And people are very angry that we have these unelected officials calling basically how this country is run. Now, I didn't vote for Brexit, but that was the idea, was that we would leave the EU so we would not be ruled by unelected officials. And then it turns out we have unelected officials ruling us in the UK. So I would say that this is actually quite a sort of politically nimble step from Starmer to just get on top of this so quickly.
If it's such a good step, why has it required Starmer? This could have happened straight away as soon as we left the EU. If that was the goal, like, I'm just saying the Tories should have been on this.
No, totally. But but it served their purposes, because this is what Starmer's saying is the reason he's saying is to stop outsourcing decisions, i.e., do your job as politicians. Stop just handing it all over to them.
He's dodging effectively, and hopefully better than dodging, because the stories with all the dodging is the emails go out saying you've all been fired, and then it's like 80% of the people laid off have had to be rehired because of Elon.
But that's what he did at X. He just fired them and then rehired.
Which is just stupid. Yeah. So hopefully not doing...
That's what happened to me here when I had to then cover the weekend. Needed someone back. No.
You're making stuff up now.
Before we move away from The Guardian, I can't believe we've not mentioned Neil Tennant on the tragedy of Russia.
Yeah.
How has no one else thought this situation in Russia is all very well, but what do the Pet Shop Boys think? That's the question that should have been answered, and I can't believe it's only just been answered now.
Yes, no, thank you for that. And it's a shame that we don't have the full story on that.
What are the village people
I just want to say one more thing about the quangos is everybody always blames like Blair and Brown for bringing in these quangos, but actually when you read it, departmental public bodies, actually there were about 2,000 of them in the 1970s. They were down to 700 in Cameron's time, and then down to 300 now. So there has been a massive reduction of them over the decades anyway. Yeah. But everybody says, oh, it's always... And this government, now that they're saying we're actually going to be cutting back on the quangos, it has to be said they've brought in about...
Not just cutting back, they're
12 since they've
the ones they've brought in are often amalgamating two, so reducing the number, but technically making a new one.
Why do you always have to...
Because I like spreadsheets.
But they're calling it the bonfire of the quangos, which sounds like an amazing movie, doesn't it? You're going, I want to go and see the bonfire of the quangos. It would actually be really tedious. You know, people
sounds
sitting
like
around
a snack, doesn't it?
Yeah, Service Transformation Authority, yeah, may as well get rid of that. You know,
it's a crisp
kind of
from the 80s, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with the Sentencing Council. I think is what's really highlighted this.
Very quickly, the Daily Star.
Oh, yeah, a football one. Gold Trafford, something about football.
Actually, there is a political angle, and it's a big building. This $2 billion, isn't it? They're going to invest in it. Is it Man United? Or one of the Man
United,
something.
Football.
But the idea is they're actually going to push this through, because I still can't believe that we nearly in London had that big dome thing with all the... this 360 dome thing. They've got it in Vegas, and it's meant to be unbelievable. And then they basically the Sphere, and they rejected it in London, which seems mental. It would have been a massive tourist attraction, but it seems like now this is the kind of stuff that they're pushing through, and this is what we need, isn't it?
Are we not going to cover the end of the Chinese takeaway?
That is going to make too many people cry and depressed at home. So
you can still eat in.
Why is it the end of the Chinese takeaway?
I don't know. It doesn't tell us any more than that.
The Daily Star.
You'll want another one 5 minutes later. It's fine.
Right, that is it for part one. We've got a cracking section coming up. Find out why Germany's going rogue and sneaking what across the border is very expensive. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Trans police officers will be allowed to strip search women despite ongoing backlash from critics. New guidance for the National Police Chiefs Council says that biologically male staff who identify as women should be allowed to intimately search women as long as they possess a gender recognition certificate. Now, what could possibly go wrong? But some women's rights groups claim that the police had forgotten about women in their pursuit of gender ideology. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joined by the Surrey Police and Crime Commissioner, Lisa Townsend. Lisa, a delight to have you on the show. Thank you very, very much for joining us. A lot of people have very, very legitimate concerns that if you're a woman, you're in a vulnerable position, you're being searched intimately, it should be another woman who is searching you. And a trans woman, in a lot of people's eyes, isn't a woman. They're a biological man who says they're a woman. What's your take on this?
I'm afraid that this is just the latest in a long line of announcements like this from the NCC about the ability for trans police officers to search women, males essentially, to search women. We wouldn't think it was okay anywhere else, and it's not okay in policing. I think there's also another way of looking at this, which is it's not just male officers, and they are born male. We are talking about males being able to search women. It's also the other way round. It's also female officers potentially being told that they have to search a trans woman, i.e. a male who has been brought into custody. That male could have been brought into custody because he himself has been violent, and he is insisting that he is a woman and therefore, you know, there's no time to check the gender recognition certificate, but that's how he identifies, and he insists on a female officer searching him. So I think we have to look at this on both sides, and either way it can't be right.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We're going to start with the Daily Mail, Kerry, where those rebel Germans threaten to subvert our beloved EU.
Germany plans to defy EU laws with mass rejection of asylum seekers. They're getting tough, you know. And this, of course, follows the election recently where something like 50% of the voting public went for the centre-right and far-right parties. So they've got to respond to that, really. And this is all followed a few years ago when Germany under Angela Merkel let in a million asylum seekers, which led to a few problems in Germany and then all the surrounding countries as well. And it turns out that almost everyone in Syria who's not a murderer would like to come to Europe, and everyone who is a murderer would as well, which is part of the problem. So last year, I think it was last year, wasn't it, when they went against the Schengen rules and closed the borders, and there was instant benefits from doing so, and they stopped a lot of awful people getting through, and crime went down instantly. But basically where Germany's at right now is that they need to stand against the ECHR, which we're seeing more and more of that. It's just another example of where a body just keeps on trying to do the same thing when everyone's turning against it and cannot bend. ECHR either has to bend or it's going to break very soon, I think.
Yeah, when you've got Germany threatening to leave.
But do you not think the problem is the way that the courts interpret it?
Yes, that's the... Yes,
well,
exactly.
So it doesn't have to bend. What you have to do is not get, like, judges with thinking, like, wait a minute, if I call this something to do with the family, then I could say this is a right to family because it might upset the cat.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're talking about, bending. They need to bend.
Yeah, so it's not the ECHR that needs to bend at all.
You're saying we need to ignore it.
Yeah, well, that's
not bending, really. It's ignoring it.
It's whether you ignore it or not, it doesn't bend.
It doesn't bend.
Yeah. If you ignore something, it doesn't bend.
Are we actually going to have an argument about what bends and what doesn't bend now?
The story is about them creating these kind of hubs. So basically sending people on their borders off to be processed in hubs. I think I've heard that idea. The hub that they're looking at, what are they calling it? The return hub, that's what they're calling it. They're calling it the UK.
Well, Germany was the place that, according to all the headlines, was nicking our Rwanda scheme. Yeah. But they didn't. They planned to use Rwanda as a processing place, but if you were granted asylum, then you would be returned to Germany, which was not the scheme over here. Very different to the scheme over here. But I think the big story is about, don't spend all of your time waffling about leaving the ECHR. Step one is to ignore it.
And then see what happens. Yeah, maybe.
But then what's the point of it? You may as well get rid of it if you're going to ignore it.
Well, no, that's presuming it's only got one function and only one possible outcome. People like the ECHR.
It seems to have one massive function.
You know when the woman was silently praying near an abortion clinic and was then given some money by the police? That one. Yeah. The reason she was allowed to do it, ECHR. There are so many cases where it has something that we like. The reason that, autistic hackers aren't sent off to America, it's ECHR. So these ones we like.
So you think we should just take what we like and ignore what we don't like, then?
Well, that's insane.
Bend them.
But if Germany are getting away with it, why are we not doing it?
Well, of course, that is the big question. It's not just Germany who wants to do this.
I don't care what the story. If Germany's doing it, we should be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
Having Germany get one over on us.
The deputy leader, Germany's Conservative, saying, we are not making ourselves dependent on the consent of other countries, which is a former UKIP motto. So they came around eventually. iNews, Steve, and is there anything Elon Musk won't blame Ukraine for?
Musk suggests massive cyber attack on X came from Ukraine because he says the IP addresses there. Look, I've got no evidence to disprove this, but I will take a few minutes to try and do so.
Yeah.
I just don't buy it. Would Ukraine be a bit too busy to try and hack Twitter? Possibly. I think they've got some stuff on at the moment. Also, the other day, Elon was saying, without Starlink, the front line would absolutely collapse. So do you think the next strategic move would be, that guy who could make our front line collapse, let's wind him up a bit? I don't believe it. It's all... Why would you... There's not much gain from making X have half an hour of not being able to load pictures.
He's a tech guy. I think he knows how to work the internet. So he would then look at the evidence and go, it's all... The IP addresses are all in Ukraine, which would give it away. Yeah. Of course, computers in Ukraine very easily could be hacked and made to look like it's coming from Ukraine.
But I've got a VPN that lets me watch anything that's on the internet.
And say I'm in Ukraine.
Yeah. There's also a lot of Russians in Ukraine at the moment. So it can come from Ukraine and still be Russian. But has Musk not burnt out from ketamine yet? How comes he's still going? How come he's still talking at this point? He's clearly got it in for Ukraine, and all the evidence would suggest, because Russia's done this before. But Russia's like the king of cyber attacks. They love doing that. Their favourite thing. It's their main hobby in Russia. And so, considering they've got a history of it, and Ukraine, I don't think I know of Ukraine having any history of doing so.
Trump's having a bit of a bad... Trump, I should say, sorry, Freudian slip there. Yeah. Musk is having a bit of a bad week. He's having factories and showrooms kind of firebombed in America. People are boycotting. It's interesting. This is the opposite of go woke, go broke. It's sort of don't go woke, go anti-woke, go broke. Because Tesla, I guess, is a bit of a woke product in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the polls are saying that this attitude towards Ukraine is not popular in America. I can't remember the numbers. It was either this 60% of the people surveyed didn't like what Trump was doing. So it's more like go too far in any direction and economically it won't be good for you. But that's less pithy than the go woke, go. They don't rhyme like woke and broke.
No, it doesn't. But let's go on, actually. I want to look at this mail one. Steve, cycling is getting more and more expensive.
Check your cars for a Migrant stowaways ex-border force chief tells holidaymaker Brit couple who were fined £1,500 for a man who hid in their bike rack. They spotted his white trainers sticking out from underneath the bike. They'd parked in Essex, so he's going to blend in.
Yeah.
So that's one good... I mean, this is smashing the gangs, just really not the gangs we thought, because they didn't check underneath the bike bits. There was a bag over the bike. It's not like this guy blends in really well with bikes. And they've got fined for it. Clearly, they shouldn't get fined, but it kind of is... funny how stupid this story is. Like, they're being treated like they are people traffickers. I guess they technically are.
No, but this is the thing. This is what I don't understand, Kerry.
OK, well, I'll tell you the answer, Josh, whatever it is.
Right, if they're getting fined, so they're saying you're guilty of people trafficking, so here's a £1,500 fine. Is that all? Is that what they're doing when they do have genuine people traffickers? Is that why we got so many? Because they're just giving people these £1,500 fines?
What do you mean?
What I mean is like if they're guilty, then it would suggest that this is the punishment that they give traffickers, which doesn't seem like a big...
Oh, I see what you mean. No, they're fining them. They're not giving them money.
He's saying lock them up.
I'm saying they haven't done anything, but it doesn't sound like a particular deterrent for the real...
They haven't done anything, but we need to lock them up. Make an example of this.
I'm going to say I don't think the belief that finding a Sudanese man in your bike rack brings you good luck has been proved wrong, right? For one thing, for anyone who did believe that, you're out on that one. Also, we don't know enough from this story. We don't know whether maybe he thought he was a bicycle. you know, and he just climbed
That's
in there.
why he's claiming asylum over here, because in France, they ride you too hard.
This is exactly what it is. It says that the Fentons were shocked to find a Sudanese man hiding in their bike rack. It's better than being delighted, I suppose. So,
I don't know. I feel like these people are very, haven't lived.
Really?
Well, you've never found a Sudanese man?
Yeah, it's like, guys, you need to get out of the house a little bit more.
He was 16 years old from Sudan, so he was probably 30.
Well, the guy said, he said he was older.
he looked a bit older, yeah.
He was in his 80s.
But I think it's very... no one's going to report it, finding people in their bike racks, if they're going to get fined like this.
There we go. That's the serious point. Right, loads of cracking stories still to come. Are we allowed to heckle the king? And could this be the end of Hampstead Heath's extracurricular activities? This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tom Pickup, host of the Really 007 podcast. Hello, Tom. Thank you very much for joining. I've just been singing Live and Let Die to myself for some random reason. So what's going on here, then? Is Bond going to be changed forever? I mean, Barbara Broccoli was pretty hands-on and tough with what happened to that.
Yeah, you've got to think that this goes back to 1962 when it all started with Sean Connery and Dr. No. Her father, Cubby Broccoli, got the film rights and began the franchise and the movie character we all know as James Bond. So it's a big change. It was always going to come to an end eventually. Barbara took over pretty much when her father died, before GoldenEye, when Pierce Brosnan was the new Bond. But she's really had all the control with her half-brother, Michael G. Wilson, who's the other producer on Eon, since then, since 95, really. And they didn't cast Pierce Brosnan themselves. That was Cubby's casting. Their real casting was Daniel Craig. And I think now that that chapter has come to an end, and whether you liked it or not, it had a very definite ending, maybe that's been part of the reason where they think they'd rather spend their time in retirement doing something else. It's time to pass it on. And they've got a ready-made partner already in Amazon.
Is it going to get a little bit woke, though, Tom?
I've no idea, but all I know is that Jeff Bezos obviously is head of Amazon. He's already put a tweet up or on X saying, "Who do you want as the new James Bond?"
Oh, okay.
So he's already including the fans, which I suppose is a good thing. Whether or not we'll have a say, we don't know. But I think what it'll be is what people want, what people on the outside see as James Bond, not necessarily super fans like me.
The People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We jump back in with Wednesday's Mail, Kerry, and a sweet little story about how we met.
Yeah, this is a story about cruising, which I've done a bit of, but not this. This is more the lewd park kind. I'll read the headline. It says, "We're not homophobic. We just don't want Hampstead Heath used like Grindr. Dog walkers hit back at activists after campaign to stop gay cruising at local beauty spot." So basically, there's been protests by dog walkers, and others also walking around this area with like buggies and stuff, because when you're pushing a buggy, the last thing you want around you is a bugger. They don't go well together. And so I don't want to explain that one anymore. I'm just going to keep moving on by the look on your faces. Yeah, and what it is they're walking their dogs around, and something that's been going on since the 19th century is still going on because tradition, and they're saying it's really time to let those traditions go. I think it's a bit much, because I think that dogs go around sort of naked and pooing everywhere and sniffing each other's bottoms in public. I think it's a bit much when you've got one of those to then complain about.
Well, exactly, and dogs aren't using condoms.
Behaviour. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
They're having unsafe sex.
That's a very good point there, Josh.
Thank you.
But I did see one of the signs someone had the other day was beware the gay effing tree, which sounded like a better story. I thought it was some kind of tree following people around, you know, sort of like dropping acorns so people would pick them up.
Yeah,
that kind of tree.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of
From
trees.
Lord of the Rings, the trees that can move.
My favourite part of the article is where they interview all the different dog walkers, and then they talk about the breed of their dogs. And then it got to Stephen Smithson, I shouldn't really mention his name, Stephen, with a Shih Tzu Chester, and I just went, yeah, he's gay. And then it turns out later on he goes, oh yeah, he is gay. And he's saying we don't actually...
Can you tell gay from the dog they got?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, big time.
Can you tell lesbian?
Someone's got a big schnauzer?
Could you tell no, that lesbians don't have dogs, they have cats.
Is that right?
I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble with Ofcom here.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's backed up by good research.
Learn about the world with Josh.
But just from the lesbians I know...
From the cat owners I know, all absolutely...
Okay, I'm getting something in the ear. What are you telling me? Shut up. OK.
You're wrong about cats.
They say that the signs they've put up perpetuate the stereotype. But if the stereotype's not true, no one would see the signs. No one's going to walk around the back of the tree saying, like, don't do your sex around here. So...
But are the signs behind trees?
Well, everywhere's behind a tree if you're facing the other way.
I think the interesting part of the story is that how that part of Hampstead Heath, that they're selling it as a sort of like, this is, and it's like it's almost like a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Like historically, we should be able to respect the culture.
Oh no! At one point they're even making it sound like, because they talk about foreigners who come here, asylum seekers and so on, and then go there. And they go, it sounds like it's an attraction that people come from all over the world.
In their culture, they can't go on Grindr, so they have to come here. So it's and at the end of it, the person who's sort of leading the pushback, that's bad. He says he's talking about when bigotry strikes queer culture. And he's sort of talking about the dominant culture poses as a threat to maintaining the status quo of order, control and power. And it's like, mate, you're just bonking in a bush.
Yeah.
Like, he's sort of selling himself as, like, Rosa Parks, and I'm not really buying it.
Do you not think it's worrying? One of the dog walkers was saying that the pets have eaten used condoms, they've picked up soiled tissues, wet wipes, and even sex aids. The dog caught sex aids?
No, I forgot that one got. That's my bad. Sorry about that. Right, on to the mail, Steve. And you'll destroy Western liberal democracy by deporting someone who wants to destroy Western liberal democracy. Is that right?
Judge blocks deportation of pro-Palestinian Columbia graduate in shock move after Trump celebrates arrest of protest leader. And now I realise I'm on the panel with Josh, your good self, a Jewish man, and Kerry. The show put together today by Jonathan, who's Jewish. So I just want to say, my take on this story is exactly whatever you were about to say. I now yield my time. But, I mean, the story is slightly more annoying than that, I'm afraid. You might not like what this guy did, but it comes down to this annoying crux. They're trying to revoke his green card. You can only do that by proving that someone lied on the form or find them guilty of a felony. He's not been found guilty of a felony.
No, that's not true. Sorry, mate.
He's not been found...
No, those are not the reasons why you can get... You can have it totally... It's totally legal. I've read so much stuff about this today.
Right. Well, let me finish the story and then see what...
Fine.
So, all that's happened... So, what I'd read from this story is that because he's not done any of those two things that they list, let's say it's not a non-exhaustive list, the court has said he can't be deported until he's next in court again.
Yeah,
so it's not cancelled.
They've delayed it.
Yeah, until the next court hearing. Yeah. So maybe in that court hearing, whatever you're about to say might be proved. But if you were deported before then that justice would not be being delivered.
Well, but anyway, so those are two of the things that... But it's not about committing a felony. If you can, there are things like basically supporting a terrorist organisation or showing support is one of the things, and that's totally allowed. So I've just read lots of threads today.
Which one would think that has to be proven, not even proven in court, at least mentioned?
No, it doesn't. Sorry, can I just say something? Sorry. Yeah. She's saying it's a court thing. Actually, they don't need to prove anything in court. They just They just don't have to. They can literally make a decision and go, no, you've done it, and then that's it, you're gone.
But the judge is saying, well, we legally hold off until the next court hearing. I mean, that judge clearly has the power to do so, because that's the story. The judge has blocked the deportation.
But then it'll probably move up, and it'll move up the court.
And it'll move into court.
Someone who knows a lot about law, can I come in on this?
Yes, sorry.
OK, I'll chuck him in the sea. That's what I reckon. I might be slightly biased more than knowing the law here, but to hell with him. To hell with the dude.
This guy
I shouldn't be talking about this, because even in your say, apparently I'm sounding like a scientist who's trying to talk about the law.
Yeah.
What about Newton's laws? What about the laws of motion?
And what about them? I think
really
expand on that.
No, they're really good.
Look, I'm so almost free speech absolutist in that, and as far as the free speech issue, I think people can say whatever they like, but there's first of all, there's the hypocrisy of this. In that this is coming from, we saw last year at the congressional hearings of the Ivy League schools, where clearly they had one policy for protection of all their students, and a completely, and watch those videos back to know what I'm talking about, they had a completely different understanding of what was protection for Jews, which was nothing. You know, it was they went back on absolutely everything they said, and the point where they ended up looking really stupid trying to defend what was going on, said that really they don't have to do anything until someone actually gets hurt. And
people have, by the way, Jewish people have been hurt.
Oh, people have been hurt. That's the thing, is that these protests weren't just people saying words. They got aggressive. Then they were blocking Jews from going to different parts of the university.
Intimidating Jews, calling for the death of Jews.
What's that?
Calling for the death of Jews.
Well, all that stuff, yeah.
There's footage of him calling for the death of Zionists to be beheaded.
But it's also, if you're going to go to another country and take advantage of the fact they have free speech, then I think to hell with you. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to go on to, you're not raised in that country. You're going to a different country where you're going to try and create hell and cause this kind of.
But the thing is, it's not
and,
just free speech. It's actually actions that he took, and that's part of the problem. The distribution of pro-Hamas literature. Or there's so much evidence against this guy. As you say, it comes down to presenting this a court or not. But legally, they are absolutely it's absolutely within the right of America to take back this the green card from somebody who commits these offences.
And a good way to do it would be, I should have yielded my time when I said to yield my time.
But it's also these unis have been going on about their woke agendas, their social justice agendas, whether you're with them or not. They've been cancelling people right, left and centre, throwing them out and so on. They want to get rid of everyone they don't like, and now it's coming back on them. They don't like that.
Yeah, strange. So, Guardian next, Kerry, and maybe King Charles just needs to up his crowd work.
Police admit arrest of anti-monarchy heckler in Oxford was unlawful. So this is the kind of free speech more can get into. I don't agree with the guy, but I think this is a very British affair, isn't it? Yeah. And it was at the accession of King Charles, which is where he floated away. Well, that's not what accession means, is it? Unfortunately, that's ascension. And this was a trainee Baptist minister, and basically he said that he said who elected him, which I think he probably doesn't really understand how royalty works at that point. But what's nice about this story, first of all, his name is Simon Hill, and the police eventually decided it wasn't a Mr. Hill they wanted to die on. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I'll take a break now. And but what's nice is he's surrounded by royalists who just said to the police, he should be allowed to do that. And I think that's really sweet. That's how it should have been. It's nuts the police. The police went ahead with this case in the first place. And they've now admitted they're wrong, and he's been paid £2,500, which is worth it, I'd say.
That's slightly less than you get for having a field as a farmer.
Is it?
Yeah, that was £3,000. This story is just that they silenced him on the day and then paid him the money later. The trick worked, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what? We're going to go to a little break now. The next story we are going to do in the next section, because I'm desperate to cover it in the Telegraph. Major law firm sacks reform candidate after I hate Islam tweet. You don't want to miss that story. See you in a couple of minutes.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Yana brings heavy rain and also risk of thunderstorms to western and central parts of the Mediterranean, but further east it's mostly settled. Outbreaks of rain just starting to clip into parts of Tenerife, also southern parts of Portugal and Spain, but the bulk of the heaviest rain across central parts of the Mediterranean, where we're still seeing a risk of thunderstorms as we head through into Wednesday. Largely settled across Greece though, and remaining settled for the rest of the week, and this is where we'll see the best of the temperatures, but elsewhere still a risk of showers and temperatures in the mid-teens.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, very good evening to you. Here's your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, it is going to be a bit of a chilly night ahead, and with that then, there's the risk of some frost, even some icy patches, as there will be quite a few showers around. A lot of the showers in association with a cold front that's making its way southwards, so we will see some showery pulses across parts of Northern Ireland through the end of the day, and also feeding into parts of perhaps the Midlands, but also across Wales. Quite a few showery outbreaks here, some sleet or snow over some higher ground possible. Also plenty of showers piling in across eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England, and again some sleet or snow likely here. Temperatures are going to drop, and where we get clear skies, dipping to around, if not a bit below freezing. So there could be a bit of frost around first thing tomorrow morning, also some icy stretches, so do take care on the roads. Otherwise, as we go through the morning, in the west of Scotland, it's looking largely dry, quite bright as well. Further east, more showers to come and a bit of a breeze as well, adding to the chilly feel to things. Mostly dry across Northern Ireland, but also across Northern England. In the east, it's looking pretty showery. Across the Midlands and much of Wales, a largely bright, fine start to the day, but in the far south of England, it is going to be cloudier and there will be some showery outbreaks, all in association with that front that pushed through overnight. Through the day, I am expecting more showers tomorrow than we saw through today, and with that then there's a greater chance of some heavy ones, even a few rumbles of thunder perhaps, and some more sleet and snow. Over modest higher ground we could see a bit settling to lower levels. A few flurries are possible. Temperatures are going to be lower than today, and that makes it feel pretty chilly, especially when you factor in that wind. As we go through Thursday then, more showers across eastern parts. Further west, a greater chance of staying dry because there is high pressure to the west of us, but that high pressure is going to take quite a while to push its way in. So Friday is still going to be showery for many, but eventually we see something a little bit drier, more settled in time for the weekend, when we should have some sunshine around.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners. Telegraph now, Steve, where perhaps posting those tweets wasn't a good idea while working for the law firm of Mohammed and Goldstein.
Major law firm sacks reform candidate after I hate Islam tweet. Former HR executive, that's the key thing here. He works in HR, he used to work in HR, made a series of offensive remarks on social media, lost his job. And he describes him as senior HR business partner. So, yes, there's the freedom of speech argument.
No, sorry, he's the well-being ambassador.
Yeah.
That's the best
Which
bit.
I'm sure he is for everyone, apart from maybe one group who might turn up and be like,
well, no, wait. One group?
Hearing.
No. An ideology, followers of an ideology. That's where we have to be very clear.
Would you not consider those people to be in a... So,
no, Islam is not a group. Muslims are a group. Islam is an ideology.
If there were within an organisation, some people who follow that faith, are they not a subset and therefore a group of people?
Sorry, they are a group of people.
In that organisation, who rock up to HR and go...
But he didn't criticise that group of people, though. That's the difference. He criticised
Do you think
an
they
ideology.
feel just as comfortable going to HR with the grievance of a guy who's got his tweets printed on his wall?
Well, who doesn't like the ideology that they follow?
Yeah, and they might not see it as an ideology. Therefore, they're.
So he should be said. He said a bunch of stuff. He talked about.
He said he didn't like. He called Volodymyr Zelensky a coke addict. I think that's the one that did it.
Yeah.
I think everyone was fine with everything else. He said, like, you leave Zelensky alone.
Zelensky was a comedian. Of course he was.
Are we having a free speech special tonight? It's like every story seems to be...
OK, but he also talked about trans stuff. He said, if you're over 18 and think you're transgender, then you have a mental illness. Well, places recognise autogynephilia, whatever you want to call it, as a mental health condition. Yeah. And it says if you are 8 and think you are transgender, your parents have mental illness. Well, there are people who agree that some parents are almost pushing this onto their child. This is why you see so many single actresses who've adopted a bunch of kids, and it turns out half of their kids or more are trans. That is not a coincidence.
I'd say two things. I'd say, first of all, a company can do what they like, and that's their policy, right? So even if, however we feel on it or you feel on it, it's still the company's position. But the bit that gets me is this, is at the end of the story we find this out. Mr. Cooper was approached for comment. He said, ask Mr. Dees, to which we replied, who is Mr. Dees? And he responded...
Don't say that punchline.
I didn't say the word...
No, you can't say it.
Something you eat that people have an allergy to.
Yeah, it was good.
He said, D's, something you eat that people have allergies which get anaphylactic shock. So without saying the word, you're not telling me I honestly can't... Are you kidding me?
We're not having a free speech. Don't say the expression. Look, the point is...
The expression... No, the point is the joke's bad. The point is he should be fired. To say the Mr. is what's wrong in the joke, right? Because then you say, why did you say Mr. is totally irrelevant. So I think the guy...
So you have no issues with what he tweeted, anything else he tweeted about?
That alone, to me, is get rid of him. If so, you know, that's a terrible, terrible joke.
To get rid of him,
embarrassing to a company.
They'd have to refer him to HR, which is him. So how did he manage to get fired? Why didn't he just go like, checks out, fine with me?
Yeah, because he addressed it to Mr. Dees.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Dees what?
I can't say it. But I can say what he said here. He said, I hate Islam, right? It's a 7th century barbaric cult. Well, anyway, the point is, people can be very, very offended by that. But it is an ideology. Now, I'm thinking for myself as a Jew, if someone said to me, I hate Judaism, right, I would be like, OK, like, I wouldn't be offended. I would just be like, well, why do you hate it? And now, if they said, I hate it because, you know, you Jews all drink the blood of babies or whatever, I go,
how do they find out?
I go,
what?
Well, actually, that's you being an anti-Semite. That's different. If they said,
I'd be like, no, that's Josh, not me.
Yeah, but if they said, I hate Judaism because I don't like to I hate fasting for 24 hours to, you know, to remove your sins or whatever, you just go, well, you hate that?
I've got to say, I think you're allowed to hate a religion. And I think you're allowed to say you are. I think if you're actually doing nasty things or encouraging violence, no. But
well, isn't it that he is allowed to say this? He's allowed to tweet it, but the company's allowed to think, I'm not sure you're...
Well, isn't this a protected belief? Like, he has a protected belief. He's allowed to say, I hate stuff and not be fired for it. That's a question.
Well, I hate law firms.
There are women who said, I believe that I think there are only 2 sexes, and they lost their jobs because it was offensive or whatever it was, and they won lots of judicial reviews now to show that they actually had protected under the HR. Are you protected? Says, look, we're going to do one more story. Sorry, because it's too good to not do. Jumping back here, we have Daily Mail Steve, Magic Mike posters have been defaced as sexist. I'm surprised their weedy arms could actually lift the spray can.
Yeah, Magic Mike posters covered in graffiti saying sexist exploitation and men too, which I didn't realise was a thing now. But there's been women just get too all frothed up and they've been touching the staff and the ushers and stuff.
Do you think it was the Mary Poppins cast that was doing this?
Do you reckon they like...
OK, but 10 seconds,
As someone who gets groped a lot, you know, after my shows and so on, I fully relate to what they've been through here. I was going to say some more, but
show is
I'm not going to, because you're going to carry on talking anyway.
Tomorrow's front page is Daily Mail. Ukraine agrees ceasefire deal. Telegraph, Putin told to agree Ukraine ceasefire. Times, Kyiv open to ceasefire as Trump aid. Sun, where's aid flashes girl 13. The Guardian, US says ball in Russia's court as Ukraine agrees 30-day ceasefire. And the Daily Star, Gold Trafford. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you very much to my guests, Steve and Kerry. I'll be back tomorrow with Nick Dixon and Archie Manners. Don't want to miss it. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, stay tuned for breakfast. Have a great day.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. Here's your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, it is going to be a bit of a chilly night ahead, and with that then, there's the risk of some frost, even some icy patches, as there will be quite a few showers around. A lot of the showers in association with a cold front that's making its way southwards, so we will see some showery pulses across parts of Northern Ireland through the end of the day, and also feeding into parts of perhaps the Midlands, but also across Wales. Quite a few showery outbreaks here, some sleet or snow over some higher ground possible. Also, plenty of showers piling in across eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England, and again some sleet or snow likely here. Temperatures are going to drop, and where we get clear skies, dipping to around, if not a bit below freezing. So so there could be a bit of frost around first thing tomorrow morning, also some icy stretches, so do take care on the roads. Otherwise, as we go through the morning, in the west of Scotland, it's looking largely dry, quite bright as well. Further east, more showers to come and a bit of a breeze as well, adding to the chilly feel to things. Mostly dry across Northern Ireland, but also across northern England. In the east, it's looking pretty showery. Across the Midlands and much of Wales, a largely bright, fine start to the day, but in the far south of England, it is going to be cloudier and there will be some showery outbreaks, all in association with that front that pushed through overnight. Through the day, I am expecting more showers tomorrow than we saw through today, and with that then there's a greater chance of some heavy ones, even a few rumbles of thunder perhaps, and some more sleet and snow. Over modest higher ground we could see a bit settling to lower levels. A few flurries are possible. Temperatures are going to be lower than today, and that makes it feel pretty chilly, especially when you factor in that wind. As we go through Thursday then, more showers across eastern parts. Further west, a greater chance of staying dry because there is high pressure to the west of us, but that high pressure is going to take quite a while to push its way in. So Friday is still going to be showery for many, but eventually we see something a little bit drier, more settled in time for the weekend, when we should have some sunshine around.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound? For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and the designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. As Ukraine agrees to a 30-day ceasefire following talks in Saudi Arabia today, the big question, of course, is, will Putin's Russia accept? We'll also talk about a potential land grab from farmers, more anger